You asked for God to change people's hearts.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Does God need to change people's language? And I ask you that because this killer, apparently in a screed, some people call it a manifesto, said he is a supporter of President Trump as a symbol of white identity. Why would anyone see the president as a symbol of white identity?
I think God needs to change people's hearts, and I beg he does. He needs to change their language, but you cannot put this on President Trump.
I'm not putting it on President Trump. There's one man who pulled the trigger here, okay?
Yeah.
The person who is giving a sign of allegiance to President Trump is the killer here. He calls him a symbol of white identity.
Yeah.
The language he uses in this manifesto is all about invaders. It's
Yeah.
all about invaders, which is similar language to the killer at the synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
It's also language that President Trump used in a campaign ad before the midterm election. The word invader means something to white supremacists around the world. Why?
So I think, again, to make the connection of a president saying, I'm concerned, for instance, with illegal immigration.
He says invaders.
Hold on. But to say that, and then to go to a guy that's willing to kill 50 people, he may make a connection and say, President Trump's my idol. That doesn't put it on President Trump.
Well, from 49 up to 50 dead and 50 injured after a gunman opened fire at not one but two mosques in New Zealand's Christchurch. 28-year-old Australian-born Brenton Tarrant is currently behind bars, but it would seem that all of the Hollywood types, all of the mainstream media would like to also see Donald Trump and every self-respecting white man also charged with some sort of crime that somehow might have led to this massacre thousands of miles away. Well, joining us now is Jesse Lee Peterson. He's the author of The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. He's also the founder and president of Bond, the brotherhood organization of A New Density, a nationally recognized nonprofit dedicating to rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Love the sound of that. He is the talk show host, counselor, activist, media commentator, and columnist at WND. His daily show goes Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 Pacific, 9 to 12 noon Eastern, and his popular YouTube web series, The Fallen State, is quickly becoming one of the most talked about shows online. Thank you so very much, and welcome to our program, Reverend. It is such an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on with you. Thank you. Well, and I want to give a shout out to your sister. She is amazing.
That was epic. I know she's going to appreciate that. We've got a lot of your fans watching, but I think she might be your biggest one. All right, Reverend. Well, we're having you on because you penned an amazing piece for WND titled Why the Left is Blaming Trump and Whites for the New Zealand Shooting. We saw one of the clips there from CNN, and it's crazy. All of Hollywood, we got John Cusack, all these people laying blame on Donald Trump, but it doesn't seem like just petty politics. What do you say is the reason for why the left is trying to tie this massacre to Donald Trump and white men en masse?
Well, white people, especially white men, are the most hated species on this side of heaven. And white men who are straight with power and wealth are even more hated, because it's the white men who are really holding America together at this point. The liberals have not been able to completely, and I call the liberals the children of the lie. They have not been able to completely destroy the white straight men as they have with black men and Mexicans and others. And so if they can destroy the white straight Christian man of power, then they can turn America into a socialist society. And socialism is about controlling the people. And these children of the lie, the liberal media, the Democratic Party, the right-o Republicans, and the never-Trumpers, they want power for themselves. And the president is in the way of that right now. And so that's why everything that pops up, especially if it's negative, they try to blame it on him because they want to turn his supporters away. It's not going to happen, because after we had Barack Obama, the fallen Messiah, and Big Mama Michelle, I think most white Americans and decent blacks and others woke up. And it's going to be hard for the Democrats to completely deceive us once again.
Well, they're trying to as best as they can through methods like censorship. They've even taken this man's manifesto offline. In the manifesto, he actually says that he's not a fan of Donald Trump, that while he might be some sort of a sign of renewed white identity and common purpose, he says as a policymaker and as a leader, quote, "Dear God, no." This is from the manifesto. So the shooter is saying, I want nothing to do with Trump. Trump's not my guy. And yet people continually try to link any sort of self-respecting white man and Donald Trump himself to this guy. Now, you're so right with respect to, white men are, in many ways the glue to American society. They certainly were the founding bloc. We know the way that white men vote in America and elsewhere. These are the ones who tend to vote for smaller government, not towards socialism. We know that various masses that are imported into America do tend to vote more left-leaning. That's why you've seen the once red, state of California go blue. That's why Texas is projected to go blue because of demographic change. But Jesse, I know that there are so many young, racially aware white men who watch your show and frankly look up to you because you say their name. You validate the fact that they are a group with special, I want to say, needs, a common purpose to rally around. And whereas no politician, the majority of commentators don't do that. Do you think that we need more of that in our politics? Not as a way to say like, raw, white power, let's hate people, we're supremacists, but as a way of saying, we hear you, disaffected white man. We hear you, disempowered white man, because otherwise, if there's no space for these white guys in our common politics, God help us, I am so worried we're going to see more terrible, condemnable things like what played out in New Zealand last week.
That's right. That is my greatest concern, too. And that's why I tell white people, number one, it's okay to be white. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason I started July as White History Month. Last year, July became White History Month because it's the best month of the year. It's vacation time, it's summertime, it's the celebration of this country on the 4th of July. It's just the right time for white history to be recognized and celebrated because if it wasn't for white Americans, there would be no America. Amen. And my concern is that if we continue to allow white people to be attacked, if we get rid of white Americans, it's going to be over with for the country because I don't see anywhere in this country where people of color have taken over, whether they're black or Mexicans or whatever they want to call them. I don't see anywhere where I would want to go to live because people of color do not build, they destroy. And that's why they came here from their hellhole countries, as the president said, asshole countries, because those countries was not built, they were destroyed. And if you notice, these people are coming here doing the same thing. They're not coming here and assimilating. They're not becoming one nation under God. They're coming here, they're setting up shop in their own little communities, and they're bringing in their negative cultures to our country, and they're going against white Americans. So we cannot afford to have that to happen. Otherwise, it will be over. And so I'm telling white people, you need to have more white babies. Get married and have more babies. We need white babies. And also, get over the fear of speaking up, because if you don't speak up, after a while, you're going to develop that anger. Amen. And when you develop that anger, you come out fighting in the wrong way. And that's what the people of color want. Our enemies want white people to overreact so they can accuse whites even more so, and then pass laws that imprisons all of us, take away our freedom.
That's exactly right. And you know what's so crazy, Jesse, is, I'm trying to separate what the shooter did and what his motivations were. And when I hear what you've just said, a lot of what you just said was actually articulated by the shooter in his manifesto. The idea of the need for higher white birth rates across the West, the need for, frankly, some sort of white identity awareness of their own group interests, and the fact that they are being muted across the board, yes. And the failure of assimilation by newcomer groups. He says in one part, expecting immigrants to assimilate to a dying, decadent culture is laughable. And this is what I want to talk to you about, because honestly, Jesse, the white men of yesteryear is not necessarily where we find ourselves today. We are morally, we are shadows and shells of our former selves, largely because of the war waged against us from without. We're getting divorced. We're not getting married. We're living in common law. If we're having babies, it's happening outside of wedlock. We're having abortions. We've all forgotten about God, except for a lot of good people at this show right here. I know a lot of good people who tune into your show as well. But this idea that when we have newcomers coming to these predominantly white societies, at least once upon a time, these societies that were in fact founded by white men, they're coming here and we're giving them Rihanna, and we're giving them cultural relativism, and we're giving them these satanic images across their TVs and their radios. And talk to me a little bit about what your word is to the white man who says, what the hell am I even fighting for? What culture am I trying to conserve here?
I've been telling white Americans for the last 29 years that because my organization started 29 years ago, I've been saying to white folks that they need to start speaking up, because for the last 60 years or so, white Americans shut down. They stopped speaking up. They took on this false guilt of being the problem of black people. And I tried to tell them that they're not. Black people are not suffering due to so-called racism or slavery or Jim Crow. Black people are suffering due to the lack of moral character and the destruction of the family. But they've been allowed to blame it on the white man. And for the last 60 years or so, white people have not spoken up. And I said to them, if you don't start speaking up, the next generation and the next generation will suffer greatly for that. And so that's what's happening right now, because their parents and others did not speak up. Now the young white men and women are suffering for it. They're being attacked in the different universities around the country. In some cases, they're being set on fire. The people are breaking into their homes. They're getting fired. They're blamed for everything. And my concern is that if they don't start now speaking up and fighting back and voting out those people who don't support America, never mind the color, if they don't start voting out those people of color who are against white people, then it's only going to get worse, because we're going to have in America what is happening in South Africa right now, Mommy Africa. Black people took over the government there, and now white people are under attack. Their lands are being taken away from them without compensation. They are being robbed and murdered and killed in their own homes. There have been just every wicked thing you can think of is happening to white America in South Africa. And once these people take over our government here in America, the same exact thing will happen. Even though it's already happening somewhat, it's going to get worse. And I tell white people, if you want to know what it is to not speak up or men become weak, look at the black community. Because when I was growing up under the Jim Crow law, I was born on a plantation. I grew up under the Jim Crow laws in Alabama. But that wasn't a problem for us in that we had families, we believed in God, we worked hard. We knew that all white people wasn't evil, that the Jim Crow law was a Democratic-controlled government law, and that all white people did not agree with that. And so we didn't hate. We bought land. We, went to college if they wanted to, finished high school, worked the cotton fields, and that hatred wasn't there. And the moment that the so-called civil rights movement started, which was a horrible mistake, by the way, for black people. The moment that movement started, black people went to hell in a handbasket, and they have not returned yet. And so I hate to see that happen with white Americans, because if it happens, it's over for America. No more America.
Jesse, you say that white people have to speak up, but I'll be honest, a lot of things you just said to me here, down to the civil rights movement was the worst thing that happened to black people in America.
Yes.
That they need to have more babies, all this business. I'm sorry to say, but if you were a white man having a conversation like this with me, this would be played across every single hate watch, SPLC, right-wing watch sort of organization and say, look at these two white supremacists get together and basically dance on the graves of the 50 50 dead in New Zealand. What is your word of encouragement? Because I know for myself, I talk about white identity and demographics and immigration and birth rates and all this stuff, but I am in a way set free because I have been called every name under the book. And on top of that, I'm a God-fearing Christian woman. I know that the only reputation that matters is the reputation that I have in the eyes of my Lord, my Creator, and my Savior, Jesus Christ. So apart from that, I'm good. You know, if the CNN or CBC wants to call me whatever they want to call me, I don't care.
That's right.
But what's your recommendation to white men, white women, cross-section of ages, to become unshackled from the ridicule, to become unshackled from the names and being portrayed as villains? How can they be set free and set aflame spiritually, politically, theoretically, to help really save their own nations, as there still is a small window of opportunity?
That's a very good question. What I want them to realize, white Americans to realize, white people really, to realize that there is no such thing as racism. It has never existed. It's a made-up lie. No such thing as racism, sexism, homophobia-ism, Islamophobia-ism, or deadbeat-dad-ism, or even anti-Semitic-ism. No isms. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, never mind the color. You're either on the side of good, which is the side of God, or you're on the side of evil, which is the side of Satan. And so the people who will attack you if you're white and speaking the truth are representing evil. And so they are doing what they're supposed to do because they're representing their father, the devil. And the father, the devil, is a liar. He's made of lies. His whole purpose is to rob, steal, and destroy. So it's okay that they're being attacked by the children of the lie. That's what they're supposed to do. But the children of God are supposed to have perfect love, and perfect love overcome evil every time. Evil does not have power over perfect love. And so I would recommend that all white Americans get over the anger, forgive their failing parents for not being a perfect example for them. And when they forgive their parents, then God will forgive them, and he will take away that spirit of fear. It will be in you at no way. I have no fear. I have perfect peace.
That makes two of us.
Yeah. And so white men and women, if they get rid of the anger, God will give them perfect peace. And so when they are attacked and called names, it wouldn't even bother them, not one iota, because they will understand it's a spiritual battle. Evil is doing what it's supposed to do. Now good has to do what it's supposed to do, and that is to overcome evil with good. Speak up, but don't resent. And amazing things will start to happen. Things will turn around. But if you have that anger, you have the nature of Satan. It's like you're fighting fire with fire. But we need to fight this with perfect love, which is the love of God in us. Be honest, speak up, don't be afraid. And then evil has no power at all. That's why it's trying to intimidate you by calling you names and threatening to take your job or want to shut you down, because evil has no power. And if you don't give into it by resenting it, you will win over evil. That's what I want to happen, because that's the way out.
Hear, hear. You know, we as Christians are commanded to love others like ourselves. And so often people point to the love others part as a reason why we should be so sacrificial, so open-bordered, so giving of all of our limited resources in a state or even in our own household. But I always remind folks that there's that other commandment of self-love. Love others like yourself. It is okay to love your own people. It is okay to love your own country. It is okay to love your own family. But the whole point is that love of own does not necessarily mean hatred of another. And that's what we try to do here on this show. I know it's what you try to do on your show as well, is try to have intelligent conversations so we can have a pressure release valve, so we can talk about these difficult issues, but do so in a way that we understand the different facets. We don't hate anybody, but it's okay to love yourself. That doesn't make you a racist. That doesn't make you a supremacist. That doesn't make you any sort of bad or evil or phobic thing.
That's right.
It means that you're a child of God, and it's okay to love your own. Doesn't mean you got to hate others. Reverend Peterson, tell folks where they can find you if they want some more of what you are putting out there.
they can go to JesseLeePeterson.com, RebuildingTheMan.com, and my radio show is JLPTalk.com. I do want to add real fast that love is not a feeling. Love is the light of God in us, and it shows you the right thing to do, the right time to do it, and the right place to do it. I don't have anger. I have perfect love. I love all people, but I don't agree with all people, and I speak up. I want a wall around my country. I want the illegal aliens to stop coming here, stop them from coming. I don't want them into my country, bringing in they're not supposed to cross the borders illegal anyway. I'm a black nationalist. I put my country first, and I've been called every name in the book and then some. You name it, I've been called it, but I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. And that's what they're supposed to do. Call me names, make threats to try to stop me. But I love my country. I love what's right. I love the truth with all my heart, soul, and might. This is my country. I am not an African American. I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro. And there are no African drums beating in my chest. Black as the ace of spades. Grew up on a plantation in Alabama under Jim Crow law, but I am an American. My mother dropped me in Alabama. I was born in Alabama, and I'm not going to just sit back and let people just walk into this great country and just take it over. It doesn't make sense. And that's why I wanted white Americans to start speaking up and getting involved. Forgive their parents for not speaking up years ago, because if the parents had spoken up years ago, white Americans would not be in this situation today.
Here, here. Well, Saul Alinsky said, ridicule is man's most potent weapon. Luckily, we've got the holy armor of God. And
yes.
Thank God for you, Reverend Peterson. You do such amazing work. You remain in my prayers. May God continue to bless you, strengthen you, and may your message fall on more ears and hearts across the nation. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. And just take a look at the great white hope, President Trump. He has all type of oppositions coming straight out of hell for him, but he doesn't get angry. He speaks up. He doesn't care if you're black or white, male or female. If you're wrong, he's going to deal with you. If you're right, he's going to agree with you. And he's not giving in to the attack. So he's an example. Christ is our first example inside of us. But the great white hope, President Trump, is our living example right now of the way that all men should be, and especially white men. I got to have you on my show. Will you come on at some point?
I would love that. Only if you promise to return the favor and come back sometime. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more requests to see you again.
I would love to. And I'll have someone contact you. I want my audience to meet you. You are amazing.
That's all I wanted to hear. God bless you, Reverend. We appreciate your time today.
All right. Thank you so much, and God bless you.